I love a great story. It doesn't really matter the theme or genre, a story well told is captivating and sucks me right in. And Ishin does not hold back. This is one roller coaster ride of a tale, and the amount of twists and turns would make George R. Martin blush. Now, of course, this is no Game of Thrones, but it is a magnificent narrative that paints a beautiful picture of a past full of samurai, war, politics, power, and a quickly changing world. Like a Dragon Ishin is an entertaining thriller that will drag you through all the shades of the emotional spectrum. Consider it one part murder mystery, one part action epic, one part character drama, add a dash of a love story, and sprinkle of comedy. Misdirection is its bread and butter, and right when answers start to materialize, there is a zig or a zag that absolutely throws cold water all over everything you thought you knew. That is typically what makes for a great story. The unknown and the discovery of new insights that change what we thought were facts into conjecture. Ishin is a remaster of the original game that came out in 2014 exclusively in Japan. As such, this is the first time we're able to play it, as it's a non imported version designated for North America. This is also my first time playing any of the Yakuza games, despite owning Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's still in my backlog of games to play, so I will be playing it in the near future. Either way, I don't have any other Yakuza experiences to compare this to, so I was excited for this opportunity. This, for me, is a fresh eyed view of the series, even though this iteration is based on a game that is now nearly 10 years old. Ishin is loosely based in the Edo period of Japan and on actual events from history in the mid 1800s. This story focuses on Sakamoto Ryoma, who finds himself caught in a revolution of sorts as he seeks answers regarding an untimely death of someone he loves and the fallout from the steps he takes to find out the truth behind the act. All the while working to create a better Japan for the people and not the political elite. The cast of the Yakuza franchise plays important characters from said era, including the main character that you will control in Ryoma. I thoroughly enjoyed the strong and thoughtful character that Ryoma portrayed. He was an enjoyable protagonist that, while powerful, never hesitated to treat others equally or go out of his way to help one in need. But when the time comes to get wicked and slice people to ribbons, he does it in spades. Now, as far as the mainline story goes, it's pretty damn intense. There are double crosses, triple crosses, bribery, assassinations, family drama, and all the other tropes that forge intrigue. It's really quite sensational how good the story is. It's one written based on the realities of war and the struggles of everyday people who want to make a difference in life. It's very relatable in a way that you can understand the motives of Ryoma and why he's willing to do what he does. The villains are well written and seem so monstrous in their willingness to gain power at any cost, not because they're physically monsters, but actually something worse due to their heinous acts and willingness to know no boundaries or limit. In the words of British historian Lord Acton, power tends to corrupt, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I would say the biggest strength for Ishin lies within its storytelling by far. But the time in between cutscenes and heavy dialogue, you will be fighting. As far as the combat goes, you can utilize one of 4 different combat stances at a time. You can choose between Brawler, where you don't utilize any weapons at all, it's just punches, kicks, and throws. Gunman, where you use a pistol to take out enemies from afar. Swordsman, which is the traditional samurai style and feels awesome and hefty under the precise strikes that just flattens enemies. And Wild Dancer, which is by far my favorite due to its mobility and also its AoE when fighting multiple enemies at once with both katana and a pistol at the same time. The combat does feel dated, as modern combat systems tend to be much more complex and add more variety when choosing how to deal with enemies and bosses. It definitely feels like it's from 2014 and plays in an arcade-ish manner, but that's no problem of the game. I mean, it's a remaster of a game that came out a long time ago. So it's still enjoyable overall. I purposely went looking for thugs because I did enjoy a good brawl. You can learn different combos, and there's also a skill tree for each of the combat stances, as you're able to level up, earn orbs that you can insert into nodes that unlock new abilities or empower old ones. Slowly, you gain more variety in your moveset, and it keeps the combat a bit fresher, as mashing the square button repeatedly will get old quick, regardless of how cool the moves look. You can also do subquests in order to unlock nodes in the skill tree that can only be accessed by interacting with NPCs for a specific combat style. There are also heat actions that you can use once you build up a meter to a certain point. These moves do massive damage and can be used in multiple scenarios, like when an opponent is on the ground, against a wall, or coming at you head on. They look awesome and can be brutal as hell. You'll never feel bad using these, especially on the scum that walk the streets of Kyo. Eventually, you get access to trooper cards, which allow you to gain abilities during your fight, like a heal or an offensive super move that does massive damage. It's almost like having Pokemon with you that can toss out buffs, debuffs, or attacks. These add more variety to the combat and let you be more strategic in how you want to play the game. You can even recruit troopers from the streets after defeating bands of bandits or thugs and add them to your card list. So when it comes to the traditional combat, I think that Wild Dancer has the strongest advantages for dispatching enemies due to its insane mobility and avoidance mechanics, especially in large groups. I would have liked to see a bit more maneuverability from the other styles so that they could have been a bit more competitive, as I found myself repeatedly going back into Wild Dancer from the others for the ability to dodge incoming boss and mob attacks a lot more easily. I'm sure most people will probably experience the same thing. You can fluidly change between each stance by pressing the D pad. I just wish you could change maybe in between combat. So, like while you're doing moves, if you try to switch, it will not work. You have to be standing still before you can switch and then go into a new style. The world you inhabit in Ishin is beautifully designed and transports you back into the historic era of Japan. Kyo is the town you spend most of your time in and is full of NPCs. There are vendors, priests, ronin, and soldiers bustling through the alleys and streets, fishermen with their lines in the water waiting for the big one, people sitting in stalls eating and drinking, dogs walking with their owners. The world is alive. At night, you will see drunk men stumbling their way through the night, and if you bump into one while running by, they actually fall down on their face. I was impressed with the sheer amount of people on screen at once. It's a really welcome sight to see. When it comes to helping the citizens of Kyo, this game is filled to the brim with side quests that you can take part in as you play your way through the main quest line. You will meet many hilarious characters and assist with everything from defending the innocent from a band of goons shaking them down for money to giving a dog a bone to quiet him down before the neighbors take extreme measures to silence him. There's also plenty of mini games to partake in. Aching for a bit of karaoke? Check. Want to get a bit of dancing in? Check. Cooking, fishing, slicing cannonballs in half with your katana. It's all there. Overall, the sub-stories are pretty interesting and extend the game's playtime considerably if you choose to do most or all of them. Occasionally, the NPCs do glitch out and spin in circles or glitch into pieces of the environment and get stuck. With so many characters on screen at once, it can be hard to notice these moments, but I did notice them and I do see that they occur. The building architecture, while sparse at times, looks beautiful and like a photo out of a history book. Old Japan has always had a fascinating aesthetic, especially in this period, as the unmistakable gable roofs blot the skyline. A river runs through town, separating houses from the markets, and you can see boatmen piloting their boats to different destinations. There are pops of color at night, with paper lanterns glowing brightly and shop signs illuminated by the light. Since this is based in reality, there are times when the landscape can be bland and less interesting, but it's a product of the time and not really a knock on the game itself. The ensemble cast of characters are what helps give you an already amazing story an even larger boost of vigor. You will absolutely root for some and completely loathe the others. Even when someone is a snake in the grass, they help to create that much more of an emotional response from you. The hate or anger you feel plays into the larger story at hand, and with the amount of betrayal and backstabbings, you will feel those emotions quite often. There are so many notable characters, it's impossible to list them all. Voice acting is top notch, and if you're familiar with great Japanese cinema, including top shelf anime, you get very similar performances all around. I'm really glad that this game doesn't have a dub option and instead opted for Japanese only voice audio. It would have taken away so much from the experience to see such deeply rooted history and personal storytelling voiced in English. Choreography in Ishin is insane, and some cutscenes or heat actions are reminiscent of 13 Assassins or The Matrix but with katanas. It's a joy to behold, the clashing of the metal and the look in the eyes of two warriors who both want victory at any cost. I played Ishin on a PS5, and the game performed very well, running at a smooth 60 frames per second. Only on 2 occasions did dips in frame rate occur. Once when lots of enemies were on screen and a big particle effect or ability caused a slowdown. Another time included a part of the game where buildings are on fire, which slowed the frame rate considerably. But this only lasted for a short amount of time. It's never good to see and feels gross to play through, but it's minimal and 99% of the game ran great. Graphically, it's quite the jump from the old game, especially the cutscenes. Character models sport a semi-photorealistic look and tend to appear convincingly well done. Some models do look better than others. Like any main characters look way better than the creeps you fight in the street, but most models look great. I quite like the overall art style and design of Ishin and think it's worthy of being a remaster. So at the end of the day, I highly recommend Like a Dragon Ishin to anyone who enjoys epic storytelling, as the story Ishin tells is a must play and easily worth the asking price. You also get so much value in this game. The combat, while dated, is fun and has enough variety to last till the end of the campaign without getting old. The amount of minigames and subquests are interesting and will hold your interest for dozens of hours for sure. It's wild, funny, heartbreaking, and triumphant, a combination which deserves praise and your attention. If you need super in depth mechanics, regardless of how well written the characters and story are, then maybe wait for a sale, but keep it on your list for sure. That's my take on Like a Dragon Ishin. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope you enjoyed my review. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.